All right. So we're going into the Sri Sarada Devi and her divine play, and just developing the idea of God as mother and approaching the divine that way, which Vivekananda thought was a great idea. And since I didn't press record and having to say it again, that'll be enough on that score. All right. We're on page 345 in our book. I keep taking on glasses, putting off glasses, but I think it's better with them on. And tonight we're going to look at Holy Mother at Madurai and Rameshwaram. Holy Mother and her party went to visit the famous Meenakshi Sundareshwarar temple located in the holy city of Madurai. The temple is dedicated to the Divine Mother Parvati and to Lord Shiva, and it is the heart and lifeline of the 2,500-year-old city of Madurai. So, this is what I'm getting direct text messages that are rather intriguing, but I'm not sure what they are. All right. I'll look at them afterwards when it's too late. So Holy Mother is going to Madurai, this city of Parvati and Lord Shiva, city of 2,500 years old. That's one of the great experiences of going to India, is going to someplace. I mean, you when you get out and travel, get outside of the boundaries of the United States, you find the world has been here for a lot longer. That this country is extremely young. And it sort of explains its behaviors, actually, that it's right now, it's kind of the teenager of world culture, rebellious and experimental. And so she's now in Madurai. The temple complex contains 14 magnificent towers, including 2 golden towers for the main deities that are elaborately sculpted and painted. The temple, which has 5 entrances, covers an area of 847 feet by 792 feet wide in the north-south direction. The tallest temple tower is 170 feet high. The 4-foot-high image of Mother Meenakshi, decorated with clothes, ornaments, and garlands, is gorgeous. Holy Mother and her companions bathed in the Shiva Ganga, a pond adjacent to the temple, and then visited the deities. Afterward, following the local custom, everyone in the party lighted lamps on the bank of the Shiva Ganga and in their respective names. During Holy Mother's stay at Madurai, she and her party saw the huge palace of Tirumal Nayaka, which is supported by 125 stone pillars, and also Tepakulam Lake, which is 1,000 by 950 feet. Interesting, he has all these measurements. In the center of that large lake, there is a beautiful temple on a small island. Seeing all these vast and magnificent temples and sites, the mother remarked, "How wonderful is the Master's Leela." And right there is our first little insight happening, just how all of these things brings her mind to the divine, brings her mind to how wonderful this Leela is, and it's an interesting way of thinking about it because, when I see natural beauty like mountains or the ocean or whatnot, my mind always thinks about the divine beauty. But I have to say, interestingly enough, wandering through Rome and seeing an amazing amount of beauty and human architecture and whatnot, I didn't, my mind didn't go that way. And I'm kind of curious about that, a little bit challenged actually by that, because here Mother, seeing all of these great things, immediately thinks of the Master's Leela, the Master's play, that this world is the world actually is a direct incarnation of God. That's actually very true. I've never thought of it that way, interestingly enough, but certainly when that thought first occurred to me, I thought, no, you can't say that. But then I remembered in John, that first chapter of John, where it says that the Word incarnated and became Jesus. But then it also, in the following verses, It says that the word became everything else also. And so all of this, the word, which would be Shakti, that vibration, that the world of change, the world of expression, the world of manifestation. And so really and truly everything in this universe is an incarnation of God. We are, that's a very cool way of meditating, actually. A wonderful thought for meditating. The universe as an incarnation of God and us living in it. That's why, because we talk very freely about everything in the universe pointing at the divine, that everything indicates God. How beautiful that is. The party left Madurai at noon by train and reached Mandapam. They crossed the Pambam Strait by a steamer and boarded another train at Pambam, reaching Rameshwaram at 11 o'clock at night. Nowadays, pilgrims can go to Rameshwaram directly by train or by car. Holy Mother was quite exhausted during this segment of the journey. By previous arrangement, the priest Gangaram Pitambar had rented a house in Rameshwaram for Holy Mother and her companions. They rested that night, and the next day they bathed in the Indian Ocean and then went to worship Lord Rameshwar Shiva in the temple. According to the Rameshwaram Shtala Purana, Ramachandra incurred a sin by killing the demon king Ravana, a great devotee of Shiva who was born to the great Brahmin sage Vishravas. Some rishis advised Rama to worship Lord Shiva within an auspicious time to expiate the sin of killing a Brahmin. Rama asked his devotee Hanuman to bring a Shiva lingam from Varanasi, but Hanuman did not arrive within the stipulated time. So Sita hurriedly made an image of Shiva with sand. Rama worshipped this image. The name of the image is Ramalingam, or Rameshwara, the Lord of Rama. When Hanuman brought his image, Rama installed it next to the first one, and it is called Vishwalingam. To reward Hanuman for his devotion, Rama told him that rituals would be performed first to the image he had brought. This made Hanuman very happy. The Rameshwaram temple is spread over an area of 15 acres and has lofty towers, gopurams, massive walls, and a colossal statue of Nandi, Shiva's bull, measuring 12 feet long and 9 feet high. The Rameshwaram Jyotirlinga also boasts a 4,000-foot-long pillared corridor with more than 4,000 pillars, supposedly the longest such corridor in the world. The carved granite pillars are mounted on raised platforms. The eastern tower rises to a height of 126 feet and has 9 levels. The western tower is also quite impressive, though not as tall as the eastern one. The temple has several halls, mandapams, with small shrines to other deities. High walls enclose the temple, forming a rectangle with huge towers providing entrances on each side. After crossing 2 corridors from the main entrance, one can reach the sandstone image of Lord Rameshwara, who was placed in a basin, a kunda. It is about 9 inches high and is covered with a gold crown and golden decorations. One can see the uncovered image only during the early morning service. Priests use only Ganges water for bathing Lord Rameshwara and cooking his food. No pilgrim is allowed to enter the inner sanctum. At the time of Holy Mother's visit, the island where the Rameshwara temple complex is located was under the jurisdiction of the Raja of Ramanad, Rajeshwar Setupati. His father, Bhaskar Setupati, had been a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. And we have a footnote here. Rajeshwar Setupati ruled from 1903 to 1928, while his father, Bhaskar Setupati, a disciple of Swami Vivekananda, ruled from 1873 to 1902. Rajeshwar Setupati sent a special message to the temple authorities in advance, saying that the guru of his father's guru would be visiting the temple. As a result, all restrictions were withdrawn for Holy Mother and her companions. Holy Mother was allowed to enter the inner sanctuary and to worship Lord Rameshwara with Ganges water and 108 gold bell leaves, which had been procured by Ramakrishnananda in Madras. Wow, what a grand offering. Holy Mother and her party stayed at Rameshwaram for 3 nights, and Holy Mother worshipped the Lord every day. She also attended the Vesper service and watched the lighted festival image sitting in a palanquin and being worshipped with music and dance. There it is, that worship of music and dance, that idea that anything can be worshipped, that anything can be an expression of your worship, anything that you could use to express at all. And to use that to kind of broaden our idea of worship, to understand that worship happens. Worship is a happening, actually, I think. Worship is what happens when you are consciously in the presence of the divine. It's a natural reaction, kind of like fire. You put yourself in the presence of the beloved, and the first inspiration is to worship, is to just open and just honor, because you're in the presence of the most honorable. And it's not a matter of decorum, it's a matter of knowing, the body, the soul, the spirit, everything about you reacts in the presence, bows in the presence, not in a defeat, but in a willing surrender, running to be defeated by the divine. And worshipped with music and dance. On the 3rd day of her visit, she performed a special worship following ancient traditions and listened to a recital of the glory of Rameshwara from the old scriptures. She also fed the priests and presented a water pot to each of them. The Raja of Ramnath gave orders to his officers to open the royal treasury for Holy Mother and offer her anything she asked for. The mother later recalled, this is going to be an amazing thing. Shashi, Ramakrishnananda, this is Holy Mother reminiscing, arranged my worship of Lord Rameshwara by supplying 108 gold bell leaves. When the Raja of Ramnath heard that I had come to Rameshwaram, he ordered his minister to show me the treasury of the temple, and if I liked to have anything, that it would be immediately presented to me. I couldn't think of anything. At last I said, I don't need anything. Sashi is supplying everything that we need. Again, thinking they might be hurt, I said, well, if Radhu needs anything, she may have it. Then I told Radhu that she could have anything she wanted. My heart began to palpitate seeing those precious diamonds and those jewels. I fervently prayed to the master that Radhu might not ask for any of these. Radhu looked at all those treasures and said, what shall I take from here? I don't require these things. I've lost my pencil, though. You may buy one for me. At this, I heaved a sigh of relief. After the tour, I bought a two-piece pencil for her from a roadside shop. There it is. That's pronunciation. Look how easy that is. Look how easy it is. You're offered literally the doors of a treasury and a temple treasury, which you find billions in there. And Mother's just looking, no, I don't really think I need everything. All the expenses are covered by Swami Ramakrishnananda. We're doing all right. But maybe Radhu wants something. And see Radhu's looking across all these diamonds and jewels and gems and gold all piled up in the temple. And she's like, well, I did lose my pencil. If you have a pencil, I'll take one of those. That is the way right there. I mean, that is just so matter of fact. You don't get the idea that they were pulled and lured and had to fight and battle and reason and discern. They didn't have to talk themselves out of it. They just
excuse me, Swamiji. Rangu is waiting to be let in. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. Thank you. That's wonderful. That's what we need. Let me figure out how to let her in. Here she comes. All right.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Surely. That's what our practice will lead to. That's what our inner discernment will teach us. That when we go and we understand the nature of this world and we understand the nature of our desires because we've paid so much attention to them, when they call out, we don't give them much heed, because we've already understood the nature of those things, that those things can't even touch us. That the soul is just. Well, actually, there's two ways of looking at it. One, you can look at it the idea of the soul and the body, and that between the soul and the material, there's a chasm that cannot be crossed by the material. So that's why the Gita says that the soul can't be wedded, can't be burned. That we can't be touched by the material, and so there is so clearly nothing to be gained from it. So that's one aspect of it that could lead to that renunciation. The other aspect of it is comes from Vivekananda. Well, it actually comes from within the scriptures, but Vivekananda talked about when he was talking about oh goodness, I am not in, but something is in me. What's the name of that town across the bay from San Francisco, Greg? Alameda. Is it Alameda? I'm not in Alameda. Alameda is in me. And this notion, I had a realized soul tell me one time, also a wandering sadhu in India, that at realization, the point of realization, we come to know that this entire world, this entire universe, is within us. That we were never in this universe, and so we are already the container of all things. We already are the owner of all things. There is nothing necessary, nothing needed, nothing missing. That in our true form, which means egoless form, or probably without ego, there's not even a form. But in our egoless being, I don't know how to talk about something you can't talk about. In our egoless being, that we are the encapsulation of all things. And to know our nature like that is to be free. We're not in need. There's no grasping. It reminds me of a funny conversation I had with Swami about that, about desire, about buying things. And he made that statement that everything was already his. And his example of it was, he says, I can go down to my closet at Nordstrom's where they keep everything for me. And he says, I can go there and I can try on, I can put on any of my clothes that I want to, and I can walk around and enjoy my time there with them. And then when I'm done, I just take them off and leave them, and they put them back in the closet for me, and I come back. I thought, what a grand way of seeing the world, as your own. The whole world is your own. There's no need to buy or own or grab or grasp. When you're without ego, a wonderful way of perceiving things. So here we see that renunciation is not difficult. It's very easy if you've done your discernment and your inner practice of finding out what is the nature of real things, paying attention. That once you start paying attention, you understand, as we've discussed, that really there's nothing in this world at all except potting soil. That all things seem to come down to just dirt at some point. And so it's just the illusion of time that makes them look like objects, makes them look like other things. When people go on a pilgrimage, they buy various gifts and mementos for their loved ones at home. Holy Mother was not an exception. We would love to have seen the mother shopping in the gift shops of Rameshwaram. Really? She bought a pencil for Ratu and photos of each of the 2 Shiva lingams that are in the main shrine at the Rameshwara temple. Because Holy Mother's father-in-law, Kshudiram, had bought a Rameshwara Shiva lingam for his shrine in Kamarpur, Holy Mother herself bought 2 pictures of the shrine of Kolpara for the shrine at the Kolpara ashrama. Danushkoti, or Danush Tirtha, is situated in the end of an island that is about 14 or 15 miles from the temple complex. According to the Ramayana, Monkeys built a bridge from Rameshwaram to Sri Lanka so that Rama could conquer Ravana. After the war, Rama rescued Sita and brought her back to the mainland. At that time, the god of the ocean prayed to Rama to destroy the bridge so that ordinary people could not walk over it. Rama took his bow and arrow and destroyed the bridge, and since then, the spot where that bridge once stood has become a holy place. Holy Mother could not visit it, so she sent Dhirananda and Ashu on her behalf to perform worship according to the custom with silver bow and an arrow. After 3 days in Rameshwaram, Holy Mother and her party stopped for a day at Madurai and then returned to Madras. So that bridge that was there used to be an old devotee named Kantasamy, and he talked of that. He was from Sri Lanka, and he pointed out that bridge, if you look at a NASA photograph of that region of the world, you can still see that bridge that used to connect these two places. And so, me being the eternal skeptic and wanting evidence, I actually went and looked it up on Google Maps, and you can actually see landforms that would indicate the possibility that this bridge was there, and that this, if that's important to you, that this was real, that this was a historical event that you can see the remains of. At Bangalore, while Holy Mother was in South India, some devotees from Bangalore asked Ramakrishnananda to arrange for Holy Mother to come there, although it was not certain that Holy Mother would go. Swami Nirmalananda, the president of the Bangalore ashrama, came to Madras and assumed responsibility for her visit. Holy Mother and her party left for Bangalore by train on Friday the 24th, 1911, 24th of March. She later described her reception. What a huge crowd there was in Bangalore. As soon as I got down from the train, there was an incessant showering of flowers all the way to the ashrama. Ultimately, the road became full of flowers. When her car reached the ashrama, hundreds of people were waiting to see her, holding flowers and fruit. Nirmalananda carried the box containing the mother's puja articles on his head to her room. Holy Mother stayed in a room at the south end of the monastery building, now known as the Mother's Room, and her female companions occupied other rooms. The monks and the devotees lived in tents on the ashrama grounds, as it was a new center and did not have sufficient accommodation. Swami Vishuddhananda, a disciple of the Mother, recalls. Holy Mother came to visit South India with her entourage. We gave the whole monastery building to the Bangalore Center to her for her stay, and we moved to a tent in front of the monastery. Holy Mother did not want any publicity about her in the newspaper, so nothing was published. Still, many people came to see her with fruits and presents, and Balaram Basu's wife took care of them. She was overwhelmed when she saw the heaps of fruit. She asked me, "Can you tell me, well, what shall I do with all of them?" I replied, "Well, please put them in the storeroom next to the shrine. These were given to the Mother. She will decide what to do." Holy Mother's room was adjacent to the Master's shrine. I was the worshipper. When Holy Mother arrived, I asked her to worship the ashrama's shrine with the Master's picture that she kept with her. The Mother said, "My child, I shall worship the Master with a couple of flowers in the corner of my room. You continue your worship as usual." What humility! I said, "What do you say, Mother? How is that possible? You will have to perform the worship in the main shrine. I will not do the worship as long as you are here." Holy Mother had rheumatic pain in her legs, and she limped a little. One day in the early afternoon, when there was not much of a crowd, I accompanied the Mother on a visit to the nearby temples of Ganesha and Shiva, the cave temple of Govipura. She acted like any other pilgrim. She bowed down to the deities and then took dust from the floor and rubbed it on the painful spot of her leg for recovery. She also took some dust and put it on Radhu's head. At this, I smiled. When I was returning with the Mother, I saw in the distance a large crowd waiting to see her. I told her, Mother, you're attracting so many people. She just smiled a little. When the horse carriage arrived at the gate of the ashrama, she said, Let me get down from the carriage. I shall walk among these devotees slowly. So many people have come to see me. I said, No, Mother, it's not possible. Let the driver drive the carriage slowly from here. And she agreed. The Bangalore ashrama had been inaugurated a couple of years before these events. There were no big trees on the monastery grounds then, but some small plants had just been planted. The devotees were seated, and they all stood up when they saw the mother. They then prostrated themselves before her. At this, Mother went into an ecstatic mood. She remained in the carriage, making the gestures of offering boons and showing fearlessness. 5 minutes passed. I was overwhelmed, but I controlled myself and then slowly helped her get down from the carriage and to sit in front of the devotees. They were all overjoyed. Another day, the mother sat in our big hall. Nearly 40 devotees came to see her. The mother sat there watching those devotees. They were looking at her intently. The mother sometimes closed her eyes and then opened them again to look at the devotees. There was no conversation. 15 minutes passed in this manner. I stood there as a spectator, looking at the mother and again at the devotees. Another 15 minutes passed, and the mother went into a deep meditation. After another 15 minutes, the mother said to me softly, My child, what a pity that I do not know their language. They would feel peace of mind if I could say a few words. Please tell them. I translated the words to them. The devotees were so joyful. One of them said, No, this is very nice. Our hearts are filled with joy at just seeing you, Mother. There is no need for spoken words. I translated those words into Bengali for her. Upon hearing this, her face beamed with an Elysian smile. How did she learn to smile in such a beautiful way? What a scene that is. All those people coming to see the mother. Just a big crowd of people. I just imagine, she was so shy. If you read her life, I mean, she was so shy and so just never ever wanted that kind of attention, and would shrink and hide from it at every opportunity. And here we see as she approached these hundreds of people at the gate, her first inclination was to get down, to get out of the carriage and to walk among them. I mean, that's an amazing statement because it's so contrary to her nature and yet so appropriate because you knew that she saw every single one of those people as her child. And that she would sit in front of them, and go in and out of ecstatic states out of a concern for their welfare, wishing that she could say something, wishing she could communicate. And to hear that they didn't need that. Just seeing her, just knowing her. Really, the whole scene is just amazing because you have to remember this. It isn't in these days where everybody's heard of her and everybody knows the name, where there's temples in every city, every province all across India. These were in the days when like this, the monks were living in tents because they didn't even have a monastery, to stay in. These were the very beginning days. And it just really speaks to what she must have been like, that just sitting before her in silence would bring these people into these wonderful states of presence and just bring such a joy that people would throng to see her. That's a wonderful scene for meditating on, Mother with all these devotees. And to think of her with an Elysian smile. This scene reminds us of a verse from the Dakshinamurti Stotram by Shankara. A wonderful picture. Beneath the banyan tree, the disciples are old and the preceptor is young. The instruction given by the preceptor is in silence, and the doubts of the disciples are dispelled. Again, that idea of teaching in silence, Ramana Maharshi, you really hear a lot about that when people talk about him. And I've brought up Swami Damodarananda quite a few times, but he lived in Ramana Maharshi's ashram with Ramana Maharshi for a couple of years before Ramana Maharshi sent him to Ramakrishna, to the Ramakrishna order as a monk. And he said that same thing, that during his studies, his personal studies, he would write down all of his questions so that when he had his time with Ramana Maharshi, he could ask him all those questions. And he said every single time, he said, I don't think I ever learned the lesson. Every single time I would go and sit in his presence, my questions would just evaporate. They seemed so small, so persnickety in that context. He said that I just sat there just full, in just being in his presence, just being there with him. And to see this happening with the Holy Mother, it's just an amazing thing. The instruction given by the preceptor is in silence, and the doubts of the disciples are dispelled. In those days, the surroundings of the Bangalore ashrama were quiet and charming. There was a small hillock inside the compound behind the ashrama building. During her short stay, Holy Mother was surrounded by people most of the time. Late one afternoon, despite her difficulty in walking, she wanted to climb to the top of that little hillock. With 2 or 3 companions, the mother went there to watch the beautiful sunset through the scattered clouds. The twilight offered a heavenly scene, and the mother was in an exalted mood. As soon as Ramakrishnananda heard of this, he exclaimed in exultation, "Indeed, the mother has become Parvata Vashini, the dweller on the mountain, an epithet of Mother Durga." He hurried to the hillock, prostrated himself before Holy Mother, and recited a hymn from the Chandi. It goes like this: O auspicious one, you are the source of all auspiciousness. You are the accomplisher of all cherished desires. You are the giver of refuge. You possess the eye of wisdom and a beautiful form. O Narayani, salutations to you. O Eternal One, you are the energy of creation, maintenance, and destruction. You are the abode of different modes of energy and are beyond them all. O Narayani, salutations to you. O Mother, you are the savior of the distressed and of the careworn who take refuge in you. You are the remover of the misery of all. O Narayani, salutations to you. Look at those wonderful things that Mother is identified with there in that list. The source of all auspiciousness. Anything holy, anything sacred has its source in the Divine Mother. You are the accomplisher of all cherished desires. She is the fulfillment of desire itself, the quencher of desire. You are the giver of refuge. It's where you go for peace and for safety when you've been defeated, right? When she's chopped off the head of all of your demons that haunt you and make you suffer. You take refuge in her. You know that there is no defense that you have. You just lay down in a complete self-abnegation, a complete surrender to the Mother. You possess the eye of wisdom, indeed, great discernment, the ability to know wisdom immediately at everything she looked at, and a beautiful form, the very source of beauty itself. Then you are the energy of creation, maintenance, and destruction. She's that primal energy that is in everything. She's what is keeping your body warm at this moment. If you lift your hand right now or blink your eyes, it's the power of the Mother that you're using to do that. You are the abode of different modes of energy and are beyond them all. So she's not subject to this change. She and Brahman ultimately are one. So she's both all of it, in and through all of it, the very center of all of it, and at the same time, the untouched container of all of it, the unchanging sum total of the harmony, of the perfection of all the change. You are the savior of the distressed. So if you're having a tough time, if you're distressed, if you are in depression or in a quandary or anxiety about the condition of your life, Mother is the savior of the distressed. She's the answer to that. You are the savior of the careworn who take refuge in you. Right? So all you need to do is surrender whatever it is that's bothering you at the feet of the Mother, and she will take care of these things. You are the remover of misery. So that's the result of that refuge, that she takes away that misery that accumulates in the karmas, in the wheels of karma in our mind. Overwhelmed, Ramakrishna uttered with a deep devotion, Kripa, Kripa, grace, grace. Those are words we'll all utter one day when we see the Divine Mother finally. That also will be our first word, because that love that we'll feel, that infinite love, that love for the first time, to encounter a love with no condition, will find all of us. So we kind of glance around at each other, maybe, and we'll just be muttering that word together, grace. The compassionate Mother blessed the Swami by passing her palm over his head. It is wonderful to reflect on how the Master's disciples loved and respected the Holy Mother. The Swami slowly calmed down and left the place in great joy. At Nirmalananda's request, the Mother repeated a mantra as she sat on that hillock. Since that day, the place has been considered sanctified. Later, a monument was erected on that spot, and now many people visit that holy place every day, and some practice japam and meditation there. Devotees remember this episode and try to feel the Mother's presence. Yeah, I've actually been there. I went up and sat on top of that hill. There is this little tiny cupola type thing with a shrine to the Mother there. But it's a hillock. It's kind of a rock. It's actually a big rocky outcropping that it's on. So it's not a big hill but it's a hill that you'd have to climb, because it is stone. It is a rock, and they have that shrine up there. And I also sat there and tried to remember this story, tried to convince myself that I was sitting in that same place as Mother.
Where exactly is this mountain, Swamiji?
It's not a mountain. It's a little hillock. It's right there on the campus of the Bangalore ashram.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's kind of between the administration building and the meeting hall. It's kind of, I don't know if it's north, but it's to the right of the meeting hall, straight across the way on campus.
Thank you, sir.
It's wonderful. I mean, because there are a lot of people around, but on the top of the hillock, there's not very often many people up there. So you can go up there and pretty much know that you can be alone for some time to meditate. It really is a wonderful place to sit and be quiet. Holy Mother liked the calmness and the climate of Bangalore ashrama. Referring to the people of Bangalore, the Mother later remarked, "They have great devotion." Although the Mother's visit was not publicized, people heard of her through the word of mouth, and many began coming. From the Diwan or minister of Mysore down to the poor and downtrodden, observing their enthusiasm and their spiritual hunger, and listening to their prayers for initiation, and instruction. The mother's heart melted as she initiated some of those devotees, including Narayan Iyengar, Raja Gopal Naidu, Narasimha Rao Naidu, and Adimulam. Adimulam's story is very interesting. One day, the mother was in her room and saw a little boy looking through her window from outside. On inquiry, she learned that the boy was Harijan, that is, a member of an untouchable community. She asked him to come inside the room. His cloth was torn, his hair uncombed, and so the mother applied oil to his hair and combed it. According to her instruction, he was given a new cloth, and the mother then initiated him with a mantra. Adimulam became a great devotee and later gave much service to the Bangalore ashram. So there it is, knowing that he's an untouchable, society would have frowned on her doing anything, but she doesn't just do anything. She invites him into her room, combs his hair, puts oil on it, gets the tangles out, gets him new clothes, initiates him, and gives him teaching. What an incredible blessing. That must have, oh God, I can't even imagine. That's a blessing beyond words. And he got it all just for glancing in her window and for seeing him. One day, Holy Mother was seated in the hall of the Bangalore ashrama to receive the devotees. A wealthy woman wearing a fancy sari and much jewelry entered the hall to pay her respects. She sat down close to Holy Mother, and soon after, a group of women came to the hall and mistook her for the mother. When they tried to bow down to the rich lady, she protested in their language but could not stop them. Embarrassed, the lady hurriedly made her way out of the hall, pushing her way through the crowd. The mother could not follow their conversation, but understood what was going on, and she smiled. Anyway, I don't know what to say about that. Part of me wants to say, don't overdress in your finery to go to the temple. The temple already has its deity. We should always present ourselves with some humility in that situation. On the 25th of January 1959, Swami Vishuddhananda described a similar incident. Golab Ma went to South India with Holy Mother. Golab Ma's appearance was like that of the goddess Dhumavati, gray hair with a bright complexion. The devotees were bowing down to Golab Ma while the mother was seated calmly nearby. Her body was then lean because she had recently been ill. Golab Ma became angry and told the devotees, "Shame on you, I am not the mother. She is there. Look at her face. Does any human have a face like that face?" Holy Mother's visit to Bangalore was brief, and Ashu Mitra wrote that the mother spent 3 nights at the Bangalore ashrama and first saw electric lights in that city. The room where she stayed is now used as the master's bedroom. She traveled to Bangalore by train in the first-class compartment. See, there's a note about the bedroom. According to Indian tradition, each deity has a room for rest adjacent to the shrine. Oh, indeed. Ramakrishna, up in, you see the Bellarmont temple, in that dome that's above the altar that you can see from the outside, the dome of the temple. Ramakrishna's bedroom is up there, and he's got a beautiful bed up there, and they put his picture there, and they put the covers on. His actual shoes are there. All of those relics of all he had. I saw that day, the Kalpataru day, when he blessed everybody under the tree out at Kasipur. He was wearing a little green jacket and kurta, and a white kurta, and so both of those are there. I got to hold those actually and put them into a container. We were putting them on display for his birthday, but all of that is up in that room. And some of Holy Mother's things are there also. A little platform that he worshipped her on. is there, and some pictures. It's an amazing place, amazing atmosphere there. She traveled to Bangalore by train in a first-class compartment, and Nirmalananda made her comfortable at the ashrama. Narayan Iyengar gave silver glasses to Lord Raghuvir of Karmarpur, Holy Mother and Radhu. He gave silk cloth for Golapma and Shurabala, and he gave money for Ramlal's traveling expenses. Ramakrishnananda wrote to Narayan Iyengar from Madras, Mother is highly pleased with your offerings. Before she left Bangalore on the 27th of March, 1911, the devotees wanted to have her footprints. She allowed them to make her impressions of her feet on a few pieces of cloth. One of them still exists in the mother's room at Bangalore Mat. Indeed, I saw that also. An amazing experience. You know, you can go and see these things even today if you haven't been there and you're able to travel. It's well worth a trip to go see these places, especially now that you're getting to hear about them and know the history of them. You know, Dakshineshwar, Jairambati, and Belur Mat are very close together. You can easily do that without much traveling to see all of those places. And then around the city, you can see M's home, and you can see Girish's home, and you can see, you know, Balaram Bose's house, and you can see all the places that the master went to, the Kasipur Garden House, the places where they bathed, all of the things that you read about in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. They're all right there, just sitting there. And to go and just walk there and just not close your eyes because you're there. So you leave your eyes open and imagine seeing, you know, Ramakrishna sitting on the cot in the room as you sit there leaning against the wall. And you can look up and you can see the pictures that he talks about. You know, you can see the picture of the sadhu drawing on his chilam, you know, his Ganji, his drawing on his chilam there in the room. There's a picture of Jesus in there, but all of his stuff is in there. You can see the little veranda that he would sit on and talk with Vivekananda. You can go out and see the temples, you know, where he worshipped. You can go and sit in the temple of Kali, make an offering there. You can go out to see Mother's Nahabat, go in and see how small it is, and just be amazed at how much happened there. Phenomenal. It's worth it if you can go and be inspired by those things. If not, we have it all here in the heart. Returned from South India. Holy Mother and her companions returned to Madras on the 28th of March and then left for Puri on the 1st of April by train in 1911. Ramakrishnananda's health broke down due to excessive strain from this trip, so Nirmalananda took the responsibility for traveling with the mother. He arrived in Madras from Bangalore in the morning and left with the mother that evening. On the way, they stopped at Rajamundry in Andhra Pradesh, where they were guests of Diwan Bahadur, M.O. Parthasarathi Iyengar, the judge of the Godavari district. Ramakrishnananda had arranged for Holy Mother and her party to rest there for a day. Mr. Iyengar was a scholar and spoke with Nirmalananda in Sanskrit about the scriptures. His home was on the bank of the Godavari River, so the mother and her companions got a chance to bathe there. There's a footnote here. In 1991, the devotees of Andhra installed a large statue of Holy Mother on this ghat where she bathed. The party left Rajamundry on the 3rd of April and reached Khurda Road station at 1:30 the next morning. They changed trains and arrived at Puri on the same day. Holy Mother stayed at Sashi Niketan for nearly a week and visited Lord Jagannath every day. On the 10th of April, the mother and her party left Puri by the fast passenger train at 6 o'clock in the evening, reaching Calcutta on Tuesday morning, the 11th of April, 1911. On the 17th of April, Holy Mother wrote to Ramakrishnananda that she had reached Calcutta safely and was well. She sent her blessings to him. And there's a note about Mother and her party. Radhu and her mother, Golap Ma, Krishna Bhavini, and her sister-in-law, Kedar's mother, Dr. Bipin Ghosh and his wife, Ramlal, Nirmalananda, Atmananda, Dhirananda, and Ashu. So that was the traveling group there. One day, in the course of conversation about her pilgrimage to South India, Holy Mother remarked, Shashi spent about 1,000 rupees. Another day, she said, finally the Master's words have come true. I have seen so many places, such as Madras, Rameshwaram, and Bangalore, where he did not go. Perhaps she meant that the Master visited those places through her. All right. We'll stop here for tonight.